Two of India's brightest young talents, Nihal Sarin and Praggnanandhaa, take on each other. You could see that there was some fun banter before the game began. They both smiled at each other. But now, back to business. 3 minutes plus 2 second increment. Nihal opens with d4, knight f6, knight f3. And Praggnanandhaa pausing there, taking his time because he knows that Nihal loves to play the London system with bishop f4. How should he react? Should he go g6? Should he go e6? But he goes for d5. c3 played by Nihal. This is against the move order c5, where he can actually take the pawn. And so c3 is this very small little effective way of playing the London with white. Bishop d6, e3. Castles, knight d2. Notice how Nihal keeps his bishop on f4. He's ready to take on these doubled pawns. He's happy to do that often. Now he takes on d6, whereby he has actually saved a tempo in not moving his bishop to g3 and then taking back. b6 played by Pragg. And now f4. But Pragg is very quick to exchange his bad bishop. Nihal says, no thank you, I'm even ready to let go of my castling here so that I keep my bishop g4. Whoa, he's going all out for the attack. Nihal Sarin is well prepared. You can look at the clock. He has 3 minutes 2 seconds. Pragg has 2 minutes 30 seconds. He plays knight to d7. And Nihal goes g5. That is confidently played, but it's not a good move. The best move was queen f3 here. The reason why this move is not good is because now after say cd, ed, you take knight takes, pawn takes here, and you sacrifice a piece to open up the king with the bishop looking here. This was the best way to play, and Praggnanandhaa should do it. Will he manage to be able to sacrifice a piece? I'm sure that he's looking at those options, but he plays f5, and this is not a good move because now the knight on e5 is quite secure. He takes, knight takes f6, and Nihal has a very nice position. Now queen to f3 followed by long castle, and bringing his rook to g1 should be the way in which Nihal should play, but he's taking his time. I mean, just queen f3, and you can't get your knight here. And white is going long castles. Nihal Sarin now also down to 2 minutes, and he plays rook to g1. Pragg quickly gets his rook to c8. And the position is heating up now, with both players having 2 minutes. The black king has some pressure down the g file. Also notice this bishop on this diagonal. The knight on d2 stops a black knight from coming to e4. How does black generate play? Well, for black, he should be looking out for some sacrifices. That's the reason why Nihal takes and puts his other knight on f3. So he's going in with this knight to f3 to e5. And Pragg has to decide what to do. Now, there's an idea. You can take on d4. Because if cd, then there are all these ideas with queen b4 check. Also, the rook opens up. If cd, you can't take ed because f4 is hanging. So Pragg does it. And Nihal has no hesitation. He takes it with the knight. He's like, that's fine completely. My knight is very well placed. Rook c7 and queen to f3. Preparing long castle. But now notice the queen here and the rook standing opposite it. Can black just simply open up the position? Also, the king is in the center. So it makes all the sense to play e5. And also, a very good move by Pragg was rook c7, defending g7 pawn, so that after e5, knight f5, he doesn't lose the g7 pawn here. Pragg has 1 minute 10 seconds, while Nihal is down to 1 minute 50, has 1 minute 55 seconds. e5, played in the center. Wow, what a nice move. And now, Nihal has a choice between knight f5 or taking on e5. Now, taking on e5 does look dangerous. You have one bishop looking here, a rook looking here, a rook here. But on the other hand, you can just simply long castle and your king is safe. Knight f5 is also an option, but then you have to decide what to do to queen e6. e4 is coming up next, and are you okay with it? For example, long castle e4. What's your plan? You can go queen h3, threatening knight h6 and winning the queen. There are many such possibilities here, and Nihal has to calculate them. He's now equal on time with Praggnanandhaa. Generally, Nihal does not have time leads in such games. He long castles. Oh, he goes for fe5, queen e5 and long castles here. He says to Pragg, look, my e3 pawn is weak, I understand. But now, notice my bishop, my rook, my knight, my queen. The other rook can also join in. This looks really good for me. How should Pragg continue here? Pragg plays knight e4. And now the queen goes to h3, and notice this small trap. Knight f2 looks like a fork, but it unleashes the bishop and the queen, and the pawn on h7 falls. So you cannot play knight f2 for the time being. What does Pragg do next? He has to find something like bishop c8 or rook c f7. 20 seconds only left for him. Wow. Bishop c8 played. That's a good move. He's attacked the queen. The queen moves to h4, and now rook c f7. The rooks are doubled down the f file. The knight is also well positioned. What is Nihal going to do next? There are no sacrifices here. Does he want to take this? But once he takes this after d4, black's position looks quite good. And Nihal is also down to 8 seconds. My goodness, he's down to 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was 30 seconds. My god, I couldn't notice the time clearly. Sorry for that. Knight c6 played. Attacking the queen. Now queen f6 is the best option here. So he goes queen e8. Now this is a mistake, because firstly you can take on d5. If queen c6, there's queen e4. But Nihal also plays a very strong move, knight b4, attacking the d5 pawn. Pragg goes bishop b7, but that pawn is falling. Nonetheless, he takes on d5. Pragg takes back. Rook takes. It's not about the loss of pawn. It's the fact that this bishop has been unleashed now. That's the big thing here. Knight f6. He's looking at the e3 pawn. So Nihal has to defend it. Down to 12 seconds. This time I can see the time correctly. He goes queen h3. He defends the e3 pawn. And now rook e7. Attacking there. Rook g5. You can't take on e3 because g7 is hanging. So he plays king h8. Nihal simply comes back and defends his e3 pawn. He tells Pragg, I'm not only having a great bishop, but I'm also a pawn up here. King b1. Very calm and cool move. Pragg in big trouble here. Queen e5, queen g2. Triple attack on g7. He plays his pawn to g6. Is some sacrifice coming on g6? Not really for now. Nihal plays queen h3. Knight h5. Rook g5. That's a mistake. He gives up the e3 pawn. Queen h4. That's a blunder because queen is trapped after rook f4. If you play rook g4, there is queen g1. You can see Nihal pausing there. But now the queens are traded. And rook takes g4. And after the smoke has settled, Pragg has come out with an extra piece. The game turned so quickly here. And this is just very easy for Pragg to win. He's piece up and everything under control. You can see him making his moves at lightning speed now. This is what happens in blitz games. Many times you have a good position, but you simply are unable to keep your control. And once that happens, it's all gone. Now here, rook takes c5 played. King, rook back, a5. Pragg taking his last thing here. He knows that he can push his g-pawn and then queen it. But why to hurry? Oh, yes, he takes. And h3, wow. There was a very interesting moment which I'll show you after this game ends, where Pragg could have actually checkmated his opponent, but instead he didn't find it and went here, and resignation there by Nihal Sarin. The game turned very quickly there. Nihal not too happy. Praggnanandhaa quickly arranging the pieces. let's just go to that moment where things turned very quickly, and you know, all went downhill for Nihal. When did that happen? Let's have a look. Praggnanandha's last move was knight to h5, and here rook f3 was the correct move, and position would have been slightly better for Nihal. In fact, he's a pawn up and he's doing very well. But instead, he played the move rook g5. This allowed first black to equalize. Now, Nihal should have taken the queen and the position is equal, but he goes queen h4. And now notice how rook f4 traps the queen, because the queen can't go here, can't go here. If you go, by the way, to queen g3, the knight is looking at this square. There's no square on f2 or e1. If you play your rook to g4, there is queen g1 check, rook g1, and you are now a rook down. So you have to find some move. He played rook g4, and now Prag played queen e1, which was good enough to win, and then took, and he's a piece up. But there was a faster way to win here. Instead of queen e1, he could have played rook f1 here, and this is just mate now, because after bishop here you can play queen d3 check, and whatever he does, queen d1, next move is checkmate.